Well, and we're all hunters anyway, so we're looking for the most realistic spot to shoot on an animal, and it's just like it's one of those things where we want everything to be simplified. And you know what? Some of our targets, when we shoot the 12, it's not where we would shoot an animal.
Oh, yeah, no. For sure.
I was laughing earlier, too, because I was listening to one of Levi Morgan's podcasts, and he was saying, like, how he pushes himself so hard, and he's like, yeah. He's like, do I want to win third place and get a $5,000 check? Or do I want to first place and get a $15,000 check? He's like, in my head, I know I can win this thing with a 10, but I'm going for the 14. He's like, that's just what I do. I know I can win with a 10, with 2 10s or something. He's like, but I'm going for that 14. If I fuck up, that's my fuck up.
Well, also, like, you've heard of Bodie Turner, right?
Yeah.
So that guy's just turned 17, and he's beating everybody in the fucking world right now at Vegas. And the Lancaster Archery shoot, all of those shoots that are actually, like, they matter now. And he can hit... Last year, when he was 16, or maybe even 15, he hit... So there's, he hit... what is it? 30Xs, 30Xs for your for one qualifier, 30Xs for another qualifier, and then 30Xs for the final qualifier, and then so he hit 120 Xs in a row. So if we're looking at this target up here, the X is the size of a dime, okay? And really, the X and then the outer ring is the same score. It's just a 10X, okay? He hit 120 X's in a row, and then he went into the finals. And then I think like there was a couple that he dropped in X's, but not everybody's perfect on that stage anymore. But like, imagine hitting... and of course they've got those fat arrow shafts and stuff like that, but like
it takes up half the X anyway.
They're running 27.
No, it takes up those 27s are almost the exact same diameter as the X, and he hit 120 out of 120 of those. He was perfect throughout qualifying, and I was like, That's fucking insane. And then you actually look at the target and you're like, that's a small ass target. I know that we're good shots, but we're not anywhere close to that.
No.
Yeah.
No, that's some shit right there.
Yeah.
I know one guy could probably do it if he was determined.
Not even paying attention.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys don't look at me.
Are we talking about Gage?
Yeah.
I bet you Brennan, if he was determined, he could eventually get
Brennan's
there.
good too.
I
Brennan's
think
good.
anybody who's determined can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, how much time do you want to put in?
Yeah,
It's up
I
to
mean, a
you.
lot of those guys, that's what they
You
do
can
with
take
their
the
life.
shittiest archer and you guarantee you turn him into anything you want to be.
I think that's the biggest problem
There's
a
no-
lot of us have had lately.
Best thing about archery is everybody starts on the same level, right?
We've been putting in time, but not
Not that kind of time.
the time like we...
I think what it
Should.
is not the right kind of time, right? It's not
Yeah.
the right kind of reps. It's a lot of the time it's for fun.
So, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we all go out. Yeah.
I want you to talk, Gage.
Yeah.
Gage will talk. You just got to get him out of his shell.
So I was listening to a podcast between, and this was years ago, between Chris B and John Dudley. So between those two individuals, there's not only a lot of target competition knowledge, but also hunting knowledge. And I was listening to those two talk to each other, and they were sort of like feeling each other out on the target competition side, and both of those two have their exploits on the hunting side that we'll never even dream of getting to. But they were talking about target archery, and Chris B was asking John Dudley what was his target, mindset, and John Dudley goes, I was a really good target archer, really good, okay, but he saw, and John Dudley is a phenomenal archer. He is amazing, and he's like, to hear that guy talk about, he's like, I saw what other people were doing to get to the point where they were at, and he goes, the amount of work that I would have to put in to get to even sniffing their level, it would be absolute insanity, and I would have to do nothing else but that. And he was talking about other target archers who he's like, I need practice to get to where I'm at. I practice a lot. And he's like, there would be guys who would show up who would practice once a week, and they'd they'd shoot a 300. And he's like, I can't do that. And he's like, I had to make a decision at some point where I want to focus on something else, and I want to like live a life, you know. And it's a lot. I want to liken it to something else, but. I forgot what I was going to say in the middle of the sentence, but it was odd to hear that coming from John Dudley, who is someone that a lot of people respect and a lot of people admire, especially with the way he's able to teach other people like how to maximize their potential with archery and stuff like that. And then hear Chris B go, I had the same thing. Like it was one of those things where I had. I'll tell you what it's like. Have you guys ever heard Tiger Woods talk about John Daly?
Yeah.
So Tiger Woods would show up at 6:00 a.m. when it was just getting light out, and the only thing he was limited by was the amount of light he had. And he would show up rain or shine at 6 a.m. and go to the driving range, hit balls for 2 hours, then go to the golf course, work on his long game, work on his short game, all fucking day.
And then he'd walk into the fucking clubhouse and see John Daly at the bar.
No. He would do that all week, and then John Daly would show up half drunk with a cigarette in his mouth, with two girls with bikinis like behind him, cheering him on, with like a limp in his step because he can't walk anymore. And John Daly would be 2 strokes behind him on the biggest fucking tournament you could imagine. And he's like, he'd look back at John Daly and go like, what the fuck? He's like, I have to work so hard. And of course, like he would beat John Daly every time, but like, he's like, I'm working so hard, and John Daly just shows up. And he's like, he's the most talented human being I've ever seen in my life to do that. Like Tiger was saying that like, as the most talented golfer that has maybe ever lived besides Jack Nicklaus. He's like, he's the most talented human being I've ever seen. He shows up half drunk with a cigarette in his mouth, out of shape, with no practice, and he's only 2 strokes behind me. Like, that's what I got from that podcast between John Dudley and Chris B, and it's amazing to hear, and it really puts into perspective like all of my work behind all of that, and it gives me a level of expectations for myself to where if I want to go to Vegas, I know that I'm never gonna be them.
You never know unless you go.
That's true, but then again, it's just like one of those things where it sets my expectations. Where like when I went to that tournament in December, and I was going up against that guy with the Matthews titty, and
Title.
And titty.
Title.
Titty.
Say it a little bit.
Title.
Titties are better.
Titty. And
Everybody
like,
Well, there was 2 titties.
yes,
Oh.
he was clearly better than me. I will make no claims against that. But then again, I hadn't practiced all week. I was not sighted in to begin with on that shoot, and like right now, I can tell after shooting that's what made me want to practice every single day. It's what you've been seeing on Instagram, like all that shit.
Are you shooting when you share those videos?
So no, I schedule all of those out, but I am shooting every day. So I have a whole bunch of rounds that are not on camera, but I schedule all those out just because it's fucking Instagram and nobody gives a shit.
See, I told you.
Yeah.
You fucking.
Well, it's
you
not
thought he
live.
was doing promos for his OnlyFans, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. But that's what made me start to practice
That's
like
where it
every
cuts
day.
out.
That's what made me start to practice every day, and it was like, I'm not that far behind that guy. And he was using 27 those fat arrows, and I was using my whatever less than 5 millimeter arrow. Like, it was one of those things where like I was never going to beat that guy during that on that day, and I may never be as good as that guy, but to be as close to that guy as I was, and have all of those things counting against me, it was kind of like it made me feel really good.
Like Vin Diesel said, though, bro, winning is winning whether you win by an inch or a mile.
We're trying to build this spirit here.
It's
I
all
know,
about it's all about family, dude.
That was Dom Trevor
Well, that's
that
like-
said that.
There for a time, every 3D shoot I would go to, I would win. I was unstoppable. And I would normally show up hungover, half in the bag. Then you guys came and fucked all my whole shit up.
Get back in that bag. Just keep the party rolling, dude.
Can't drink like that anymore. It hurts.